One important chapter to start the second class in the organization is the book of Acts, chapter 15, where we find the council or the meeting in Jerusalem where the apostles and the elders came together to decide different issues. Let's open our Bible in Acts chapter 15 and let's read there a few texts. Verse number 6. Who can help me? Acts chapter 15, verse number 6.
Yes. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter.
Mm-hmm. Here we see that they are coming together. Let's, another text. Let's read the verse number... You can read verse number 12 and 13.
Then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders God had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had held their peace, James entered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me.
Yeah, here we see that there is also order in that meeting. People are talking. Let's go a little farther in that meeting. Verse number 22 and 23.
Then it pleased the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas surnamed Barsabas and Silas, chief men among the brethren. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and elders and brethren sent greetings unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria and Cilicia.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we see here that they also make a plan when they decide something, when they send some messengers, and also they send some text, a written decision with them to share with the churches. Let's go back to our subject. In this text we can see then that the church also, the early church, they also have an organization, they also work together, they came together, they make some plan, they hear each other, they respect, they give the audience, they just having some order, and also they got decisions, and they send also, they commit some people to get responsibility and to get this decision out to the churches. May the Lord help us that we may also work in this same spirit, in order, in trying to solve issues when the church has some issues, and that we may also accept the resolution that the church may get in the issues that are presented and discussed in the meetings. Let's go now to the church officers. Let's do some practical in every one of the case. Generally, the church officers are the church elder or church leader, church secretary, treasurer, deacon, Sabbath school leader, Sabbath school secretary, Sabbath school teachers, children's Sabbath school teachers, missionary leader, missionary secretary, youth leader. There can also be with the youth leader also youth secretary, his team, other committee members, and other officers such as music leader, education leader, health leader, and Dorcas leader, according to the need and activity. It's depending also how big is the church, on which level is also, we will see a little different levels. But also in the local church, it depends if they are enough, the church is growing, that may also have other departments in order to help the development of the church, the life of the church. There should be a committee in every church, when the committee is normally composed by who? The church leader, church secretary, and the treasurer. There is the minimum for the committee. When the church is a little larger, can also have other trustworthy members, and have a committee of 5 or a committee of 7, but it's not recommended to have two big committees. Basically, it's the leader, the secretary, and the treasurer, or maybe some other members, 5 members, 7 members. At the end of each year, or at the beginning of a new year, an annual business meeting should take place. As you know, in the month of December or January is the month that we should do the reorganization of all churches. Or in that meeting, all the officers should present the reports, the activity that was done, should analyze those activities, when a new officer should be elected for the church. Reports. This is another important part when it's not properly appreciated the function of the report. The report is very important because it helps us to see the life of the church in a paper. And also reports, usually you prepare the report and you send to the higher level of the church. If it's a church, you send to the field send to the union, or union send to the general conference. Why do we prepare reports? Brother Eric, why is it important to prepare reports?
To see, to examine ourselves. What is the right or wrong?
Ellen G. White writes that the worker should every day, when end the day, take some time to analyze how was the activity during the day and to set new goals for tomorrow. What's happened? Many churches, many officers, they came in the month of September, October and say, oh, I have not done nothing in the whole year. I need to do something because I will not have nothing to report at the end of the year. But this is not proper. If we do regular reports, this is one of the issues. It automatically helps us to see, okay, what are we doing? This is one of the purposes. What else? What is other purpose why we prepare reports? Brother.
As you're saying, kind of to keep track of time, to show that you're actually putting in time to your work and not just wasting it.
Yeah, it's true. When it's a workers report that you show that you were active. What else? Yes, all in the personal analysis, but there's other purpose related with the reports. What is the other purpose of the reports?
Tienen los sucesos clasificados por fechas.
Why there is a higher level in the church? To help you in your activities. If you have reports, then the report goes to the field, and the field see, okay, this church is dynamic missionary work, and the other church say, oh, here they are really having problems, there are no activities. Then the field should come to the church and send the missionary leader in the church and say, brothers, let's organize. Do you have a plan of work for the missionary department? There's no plan of work. Then let's establish a plan of work. Let's establish some activities. Who can help? And then they coordinate. You receive the reports. Oh, the finances are going down. What's happened? Why? Because you see the reports. If you don't see the reports, you see the report. Oh, finances are going down. What's happened? Maybe unfaithfulness. Maybe problem there. Maybe difficulties with the leaders, that people are not trusting him anymore. Different issues. Then we need to go and solve the issues. This is the mirror to help us to see how the life of the church is doing. Missionary work. Oh, in the whole quarter, 3 Bible studies. What's wrong there? Nobody's working in the church. Then we see the situation through the working report. Not only for you, it's a help to keep you active, but also the purpose is in the higher level, they are your assistants. And we send the report in order to see and to help each other in the development of the activity. What kind of reports do we have? We will see some of the reports, and I will distribute you the forms. First, Brother Danny, please.
The treasurer must be supervised to be sure he sends the tithes and offerings to the union or the field on time every month.
Here we see the first. The treasurer should send reports every month of the finances. And it's important. Why? Because the field is the one coordinated, or the union, of the salary of the workers. You don't send money, and then we are limiting the development of the finances of the church. Because God had set a system that the salaries is the provision for the minister, for the life, for the sustaining of the families. And then we don't send the finances, then we are putting also the workers under constraint, under difficulties, because they are not having sufficient funds to pay salary for the workers. Everything is linked in the church. That's why it is important to work properly and to keep this unity. On how it should be done every month, should send these reports and also the finances. Let's go to the next statement. Adrian, please.
Right after the end of every quarter, March 31st, June 30th, September, etc., The reports of the church officers, such as the secretary, treasurer, missionary leader, etc., should be completed and given to the leader for his signature so they can be sent by the church secretary to the field secretary.
Okay, here we see that it's a second report, it's not a treasury report. What kind of report is this? It's a quarterly report. That is a summary of different activities. It's a summary of the missionary activity, it's the secretary information, and it's also including the treasury information quarterly now. That should match also with the monthly reports. And how should be done this? Every 3 months. It happened, and that is very sad, that the church are not sending those reports quarterly, or maybe just, okay, we have not sent report, we need to send the secretary information to the field. But just come some numbers, and we cannot help, the field cannot help the church if they have not seen what is done and what is not done. That's why the importance of sending this report quarterly at the end of every quarter. Let's see the last point here. Richard?
The field secretary can then prepare his reports from all the reports of the churches by the middle of the month and send it to the union. In the same way, the union sends its report to the general conference so it can be informed how the work is developing worldwide.
What are the members that the union is having to support them in finances?
Sorry, what's that?
What are the members that the union have in order to support them with the finances for salaries of the officers of the union? The one that support the union is the field. On the field, when they receive from the church. Then the church delay, it suffer the field, it suffer the union, and it also suffer the general conference. And we are making the work stagnant in all the levels. That's why it's so important that the church may send a report monthly, quarterly, and that the information may flow until the general conference, because one level is dependent on the other. Unions do not have direct members. Unions do not have a directly source of getting income, is through the local church. Then when the local church is not functioning properly, it is affecting all the level of the organization, and also is stopping the work worldwide also to be developed. That's why it's so important that the reports on the finances and also the statistics may flow in all the levels. Let's go to the church leader responsibility. What is the responsibility of the church leader? Brother Eddie, can you help me with the reading?
Progress and growth of the church are to a great degree dependent on a good leader and his co-workers. The office of leader is the most important in the work and organization of the church. A person who has been elected as church leader does not automatically have the right to be baptized and conduct a Lord's Supper. However, if through simple-mindedness, a sense of order, gift of organization, and a missionary spirit, the leader distinguishes himself and develops into a good church leader, then the church should recommend him for ordination.
Okay. Here is mentioning that the church leader is one of the key persons. What is the responsibility of the church leader? It's not mentioned much concrete in the church manual. It is mentioned that he's the key person. But here it says the officer is the most important in the work of the organization of the church. Why? What is his responsibility? Here it says he cannot conduct the Lord's Supper, he cannot, unless he is an ordained. And also if he is ordained, he needs to do the activities under the direction of the ministers or the field, that they may say, yes, brother, you can proceed. He cannot do it automatically because he's ordained elder, he can just do the things. No. He is still under the supervision and under the authority of the ministers and the field officers. But why is so important his work?
Because he is responsible for the overall health and well-being of the church and responsible for all the activities, the reports that they are sent on time.
Yes, he is responsible for all the activities, for all the officers. He is the responsible of checking that first, when start the work, that they may sit together and make the working plan. He is responsible to check, brother, how he's doing the missionary work, what activities planned. And he is also helping him, assisting him in all his activities. He will not do all alone. That's why our different departments to assist him, but he's the one that coordinates all the work. He's the one that needs to be behind the secretary and say, brother, did you send the reports? He's the one that needs to be behind the treasurer and say, sister, are the brethren contributing regularly? Is there any problem? He's the one, sister, please give me the report of the quarterly report. I want to see how the book is developing. He's the responsible of checking the administration of the church. All the administration, the responsibility is the life of the church. It depends much about the church leader. If he organizes things, is he motivate the department or not? Yes, and it's very important. As I mentioned you before, that you have a church working plan. You are already members in different churches. And I don't know if you have developed working plan in the church level. This is very important. What are the main part of the working plan? Have you ever developed a working plan? This is very important, very important. A working plan, just being a big summary, you have we can say a vision is the first point, like a statement that you will have to motivate the church. Second, you put objectives. Objective does mean that you will put in for all the department, general also objective for all the department. With this object should be objective that you may concrete, and that you may measure them. For example, you say we like to have 2 missionary activities every month. That you may see, finish the month. Did you fulfill your missionary objectives? You understand? Youth activity, objectives. That you may have a participation of the 50% of the young people in the youth activity. Measure again. How many young people do we have? Are they already in action? The third point, for each one of these objectives, you should put activities. You should link. That's why you say here, for example, sorry, I put the wrong number. You put first, second, and then third, and then you put here objective number 1, 2, 3. In activities, you will put 1.1, 1.2, 2.1, 2.2. That you may link all this activity with the objective, that you be sure you are working to fulfill the objectives. And here you should have objectives and activity for every department. This should reach every department. And then you put, and this is a very important part of the plan, that most of the plan they don't have, and this is a big failure, is the chronogram. What is the chronogram? It's the timetable that you may put for every one of these activity date. On this chronogram, you should have, not for only for 1 month, you should have one that is a yearly and one quarterly. Yearly, that means, for example, you want to have a special conference. You want to have a big church, let's say, especially use Sabbath, big Sabbath. Or you want to have also evangelization, a big crusade in town, renting a place and doing, or a cooking class in the library, or whatever you want to do. Then big activities you put in the yearly plan. And quarterly you put for every weekend, every week, what you're going to do in the quarterly for all 3 months. And when you have the church running with a proper plan, with all the department, you will see that the church will be in action because they have the plan that is pushing them. If we don't have plan, we just wait the next Sabbath. Who will preach? I don't know. And the church life is very slow, going very slow. Why? Because they don't have goal. They have not a set up plan. They don't have set a plan to develop and to go forward. Church elder. Let's speak a little about the church elder. Brother Damaris, please.
Church elder is elected by the church, and his work is limited to the local church. He may serve in other churches on request and with approval of the field president.
Okay, let's read the next statement. I speak all about the church elder. We can comment.
Baptism and the Lord's Supper may be conducted by the church elder in agreement with the supervising minister or the field president. Should the Lord's Supper be scheduled or souls be ready for baptism, the church elder should inform the field president about it and await his instructions. The field president will decide whether he will be present at the ceremony to which he has thus been invited, ask another minister to be present, or give the ordained church elder the commission to perform these ceremonies himself. He may serve as isolated members under the direction of the field president.
Yeah? Do you understood here the church elder? Here we are talking about the ordained elder. Ordained elder had the possibility to do Lord's Supper and baptism, but he can do it only under the authorization of the minister or the field president. This is to keep order in the church, because it's possible that the minister will be sent directly to officiate the Lord's Supper in the church, or coordinate it in another way. And he is limited to the local church. Also, ordination of the elder is not that he got this ordination and he will be in functioning his whole life. It is true that his ordination remains, but his function as ordained elder needs to be renewed every year again. Church elders, ordained elders, the church in the reorganization should vote to keep him as ordained elder in the church. If they don't vote, he cannot officiate as church elder because have not received the authority of the church. You understood? Church elder needs to be renew his function as ordained elder by the members every year in the reorganization. Maybe he will not be chosen as church leader, but he can also be kept as church ordained elder by the vote of the church. If the church do not agree, then he cannot function as a church elder.
Is that only for a church? Is that only for ordained elder?
Only for ordained elder. They can assist other areas, but only with authorization and the guidance of the field leaders, other churches. And if the elder wants to act in another church, normally this other church should also vote and accept him as elder for the church. Because it case that one elder will not limit it to one local church, but he will assist two churches. Then both churches, or three churches that are in the area, should accept him as ordained elder for that church. Okay. Let's go to the secretary of the church. Let's, Brother Richard, help me to read about the secretary. What is the function of the secretary?
The secretary is the record keeper of all business sessions and writes exact minutes of them. All minutes of the decisions made are entered into in the church minute book along with the date and place of the meetings and the number present.
Okay, let's read, just comment this. One of the important issues of the secretary is to keep the minute book. Why is it important to have minutes? Here it says should be exact minutes, where is mentioned decision, and also mention the date and place of the meeting, and the number of members present. Why? Because our memories are sometimes weak, and especially in the church, when we take decision, our administrative decision, we need to have the support of the minimum the committee. Then they need to have the agreement, okay, we decide that day this resolution, and then it is written there also in paper. It is important to have all the decisions written in the paper and the book and with the date. And this helps us also to remember us, okay, we decide that day that we will do this. And it's also important because it keeps the history of the church, the record. it was very important in the history when there was division of the church to say, okay, let's go to the books, to the minutes. What was written in the minutes? What happened really in that meeting? When there are difficulties, problems, then ministers should go and request, please give me the minutes. I'd like to see what's happened in the meeting. How was deal with the issue? When they have to deal with a member, the member is not happy with the resolution of the church, and he applied for the highest level, the field need to ask, please give me the minutes. I want to see how was deal with that member in the local church. The minute is the document that we'll have will show everything, as well as the resolution is the document, the base that we have to put the fulfillment, the decision of the church. Let's go to the second.
The church secretary prepares a church letter for members who have moved away and also requests church letters for incoming members.
Okay, have you seen the church letters, brethren? Let's take a copy give it forward. You can keep the copy of this. We'll distribute some forms that you may see it. In order to have members properly registered, we need to keep these records in the local church. Just take one page and you give to the other ones. In this church letter, it is mentioned the name of the church, the name of the person, the date of baptism, birthday, his marital status, and also some comments. And this is important because one member moved from one church to another one, the other church do not know him, and this helps to get also some of his history in the new church. And also, here is being signed by the church elder and by the secretary. Then, for example, Brother Richard moved from Cedartown to Tampa, Florida. Then what will happen? He needs to request the church to fill this for him. Then the church give this and to him, then send this to the church in Tampa, Florida. When the church Tampa, Florida receive this, it is the second part, church letter reply. Then they fill the second part here, and they send back to the church here in Cedartown. Then they register him in Tampa, and when the church here in Cedartown received the answer reply, they erase him from the local church here in Cedartown. Then we keep the records, people, brethren, that being not in double church register, and we don't know where they are members. When we receive a new person, they say, I'm a member. Okay, I want to see then your transfer in the church. If the person is already 3 months out of the church leader should send automatically, without request, the church letter transferring him to the new place where he is living. It's not in order when members move and say, no, I want to keep my membership in that church. When he lives in Tampa, but he wants to keep his membership in Cedartown. This is not possible according with their structure. Because he is living there already, and then he needs to keep his record in the place where he is living. It is clear, brethren? Any question related with the church letter? Let's move to the next one.
He or she also corresponds with members who are absent to keep them up to date as well as to remind them of the responsibilities in the church.
Yeah. He is the one that helped the leader in the, say, brother, sister did not came, or the responsibility, since he is having the working plan. This working plan that we developed here, these ideas, should be written with the timetable, with the date exactly. Then secretaries keep this record and remind, brethren, don't forget, Brother Danny, you are the missionary leader next week. We are going to the hospital. Do you have materials ready? Please, don't forget. We help each other in the function in order to fulfill all the activities of the church. Let's go to the next one.
The church secretary is responsible for sending the quarterly church report to the field secretary on time, within 1 week after the close of the quarter, as well as the church officer's elections reports after the annual business meeting, which usually occurs at the end of the old year or in the first days of the new year, and the complete membership list in January and July of each year.
We see here that he needs to send the secretary report how often? Secretarial report now.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter. What else he needs to send to the field?
The church officer's elections report.
Church officer election report. What else?
And also the membership list.
Membership list. Let me give you those forms that you may have. Please take one and you can pass it. This one too. Give me one too. Please.
Oh, you want one as well?
Yes. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's try to, everyone got the forms? Let's read the last sentence and then we will go and see the forms, how we fill those forms together. Let's read the last point, brother.
Oh. The church records, including member records and membership lists, minutes, correspondence, and copies of all reports sent to the field, need to be carefully maintained and kept up to date.
It is important to, we have another form, is a member record. Let me give you also that one. It should be kept in the local church. The last form. Those forms you can find in the last pages of the church manual. Yeah, but here you have one copy you can keep also as original for you. Since the church manual page is small version. All right, let's see here the quarterly church report. What do we have? Let's go together to the quarterly church report. What do we have there? What do we feel in that report? We have the membership per last report. Here is the total number of members that we have in the last report. How often do we say this report?
Two times a year, in January and July.
Quarterly. Every 3 months.
I was thinking the membership.
It's good. You are right on this is in the higher level, yeah, in the field. But the church should send quarterly to the field, all right? If there won't baptize, access, and transfer in means, what means transfer in? Yeah, when we have this use, what we comment before, transfer letter from one church to another one. What means acceptance? What is the difference between acceptance and baptism?
Someone has already been part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church or the other Reform, they can be accepted in, or I believe if someone has, that's the only thing I can think of right now.
Okay, it depends what was his decision when he was out of the church. If he was leaving the full message, maybe he resigned for the church because of personal reasons. but he keep living the message, no problem, no transgression of the Sabbath, no transgression of the health reform, no transgression of the moral principle, then he can be accepted in the church with the hand of fellowship. You don't need to be rebaptized. If he decides rebaptism, why not? It's better. Testimonies speak about a new covenant with the Lord, and also members that want to renew his commitment with the Lord. It's no problem to do that. We recommend also with Adventists, because most of them they have not kept the health reform, that they should also be rebaptized. But if they were sincere brethren, and they were keeping the health reform, maybe they found that and they were living in the standard, they can also be accepted in the church with the hand of fellowship. That is acceptance. Then we do put decrease, death, resignation. Somebody wrote a letter. He don't want to be a member anymore. He don't give an explanation. This fellowshipping because of responsibility to check here behaviors, to be defend the truth. Transfer out members that move to other churches. And then the result, current membership, uninterested souls, the number of people that come to the church. Normally interested souls is referring to people that come to the church regularly, more than 2-3 Sabbaths, come regularly to the church, then we consider them already as interested souls. Activities developed by lay members. Here is the missionary statistic. We will see later on that the missionary leader, one of his responsibilities, collect statistic missionary work every Sabbath in the local church. And this will be the summary of the whole of the quarter. He can receive the information from the missionary leader and he prepare the quarterly report that he will send to the field. Bible studies, missionary visit, public lectures, seminars, conferences, books, magazine, leaflets, Sabbath school lessons, Sabbath watchman, Sabbath anchor, or some other materials. Estimated interested soul and youth member. Here we have interested souls, children that came regularly to the church are considered also interested souls, young people, 20 to 30, and here members now, up to 19, 20 to 30, considered in the youth group. Normally we consider youth members also in this age those that are single, that still they are not married, because married life changed a lot in the activities of the family and the life of the church. Youth meetings, Sabbath, youth weekends, youth seminar, youth conference. And here in the last part, special other meetings. If they have some other missionary project, cooking class, or meetings for the Good Samaritan, distribution of materials, or another seminars, or some youth studies, or other activities that the church may develop there. And in the bottom of the page, quarterly church treasury report attached. You need to add here the other form that you will receive later on about the quarterly treasury report. You mark there, and then church elder names, signature of the church elder, and signature of the secretary. Both should sign, church leader and church secretary. It's clear, this form I think is not complicated how to fill this form. We go to the next form. Church membership list. Let's start with the church member list and church member record. There are two that should be working together. Church member record. Every church should have a file with the records of all the members. That means that here this church member record, as we see here, should be filled or should be kept on the file on the church with all members' personal information. Surname, names, middle name, place of birth, date of birth, occupation, education, church members' offices, membership on offices. If he was having an office before, in which church, date of baptism, baptized by, day of acceptance in the local church, date left local church, transfer, dissolution, resignation. And they are the two different responsibilities that he had in the church, in the local church. Comments on observation you have at the end. This is important because you know the history of the person, of the church. And when a minister comes, a new minister in the area, he can go through the church record and he see who is who in the church and what contribution they are doing in the church. Based on this personally church member record, the church should send to the field every 6 months this church membership list. Are you with me? Now in the other form, church membership list. What do we put in this church membership list? Again, name, date of birth, how they came in the church, by baptism, by acceptance, they accepted in the church, or on the day that he left the church. This is important because then the field will now check and see, okay, not that membership will be in 2 churches, the same members. And check proper statistic of membership in the field based on this information. Most of the church are not doing this properly. Please, that is very important. Try to do this. This helps the church to be kept in order. You know, administration and others help the things to develop fast and help not to lose too much time also in some we don't know information. Is he really here? Is he really there? Why we don't know? Because we don't have not received the proper record from the church. It is clear? Any question related with this? If it's not, we go to the next form. We have church officer selection. I don't have in the screen, but the church officer selection, as we read there in the beginning, the new secretary should fill this form, should be available in every church. It's, as I mentioned before, all those forms in the church manual in the back pages. But then there you write all the names with the personal information, the local church leader, secretary, treasurer, deacon, Sabbath school leader, missionary leader, youth leader, committee of the church, and other officers, as we mentioned before. If you have a Good Samaritan, if you have a education leader, music leaders, or another responsibility that you may have in the church. Church leader sign, the secretary sign the date and send this to the field. And this should not only be the name, because the field needs the contacts of this in order for the missionary leader of the field to contact and correspond with the missionary leader of the local church. But if we don't know the information, we don't know who is, this happens most of the time. It's very sad, because there is not a work united among the field and the church. And this is the help, is this to fill this form, this information. Yeah? You put their email, you put the address, telephone number, and this will help to the life of the church to improve much, because we know what is, who is the person responsible. We know the new officers of the church. Treasurer, let's go fast in the treasury. Responsibility. Damaris, can you read for me?
Money from tithes, Sabbath school offerings, missionary offerings, and other offerings is transferred monthly to the field treasurer. The tithe is to be properly paid on all the income that remains in the local church, such as local missionary offerings, second service offerings, Lord's Supper offerings, and other offerings or income designated expressly for the local church. It is the responsibility of the treasurer to encourage the members to be faithful to God and to remind the unfaithful of their vows. Unfaithfulness in the giving of tithes is often related to other spiritual problems, and therefore should be brought to the attention of the church leader.
I understand that you have also already received lectures about the accounting,
Yes.
and also received some information related with how you feel the treasury records. Let's see a little bit more. Here it is mentioned. Maybe let me just point a few points that used to be difficult to understand. Tithes and Sabbath school offering, missionary offering, and other is transferred monthly to the field treasury. That means that these offerings do not remain in the local church. Everything should go to the field. What is the offerings that remain in the local church? The second service offering that had the purpose for maintenance of the local church building, flowers and cleaning of the building. This is the offering for the maintenance of the local church. So as local missionary offerings, if you have specific offerings, extra offerings, this mostly is the offering that you receive with the tithe envelope. These offerings, if you make especially collection. Second service offering, Lord's Supper offering, and other offerings or income designated expressly for the local church. These remain in the local church. But also for the offering that remain in the local church, you need to send also the tithe for the field. Only if you have a specific purpose offering, for example, you want to buy a guitar for the church. And then you collect an offerings with that purpose for the guitar. You can use all the money without any deduction for the purpose of the guitar. If it's remaining, some money remaining from you buy the guitar and there remains some money, then you need to send it, the tithe of the remaining money, to the field. Let's read this other section of the treasury. Brother Richard, please.
The treasurer presents a report to the church at the quarterly and annual business meetings. That report should contain at least the following items. Number 1, balance at the beginning of the reports period in the local church funds. Number 2, income from tithes and offerings. Number 3, outgo of tithes and offerings to the field or union. Number 4, expenses paid from the local church funds. And 5, the current balance.
Interesting here, how often the treasurer should send a report based on the church manual?
Quarterly.
Quarterly. And this is something that we are not practicing in the church, and it's very important because we see then where we are in the finances. The treasurer should present this information. This information is basic also in the form treasurer's report that's sent to the field. If they do this regular, then everything will be there available that they may give the information in the business meeting. We will make a break and then we will continue because there we need more details in explanation of this treasury report. Let's make a break at this point and we will come back after a few minutes.